Well, there are many different forms of small, even mid-sized companies. Some are companies that have been around for many decades. Some even have the family still there that was part of the founding family of those companies. And many of those companies are resistant to changing too quickly. They are quite happy with how things are going. They may be out of the line of fire of big competition. And so those companies are probably not the early candidates to try innovation. On the other hand, there are some mid-sized companies that are under real threat of being replaced by new, cheaper, faster, better alternative companies. Many of them could be brand new companies. Many of them could be larger companies that have learned how to adapt, become adaptive corporations. And so this priority as to whether your organization is one which feels it needs to change, or whether it's an organization that says we can find a safe harbor, is something that you'll have to determine on your own. I'm going to take the example of the company that, if it doesn't change, runs the risk of being put out of business or seeing its business deteriorate, or the company that does change may see the opportunity to take advantage of being more adaptable to the changing market we have today. And so I call that the adaptive corporation. And in the adaptive corporation, you want to have at least a few people who are highly motivated to want to say there has to be a better way. We should be looking at ways that we can improve our products. We should be looking at ways to significantly reduce our costs, even if it sort of breaks the rules of things that have previously been thought sacrosanct. Well, how do you know as a person, if you've never worked in a different industry, or you've never worked even in a different company, how do you know what the boundaries are of how much change can actually be implemented without risking hurting the company? And you can only do that, I think, by being curious, by looking around, by paying attention to what competitors are doing, by looking at other industries and saying, gee, that could happen in my industry too. It may be something good. It may be something that is detrimental. Let's take Eastman Kodak. Kodak, when I first was asked to come in and take a look at them by their then new CEO, had a $20 billion market cap. It was the world's leader in silver halide photography, which is a chemical-based system of film. And yet Kodak had their own Kodak moment, because digital eventually came in and completely replaced silver halide photography. And it happened when they least expected it, because they knew that eventually digital was going to become important. What they didn't anticipate was that disruption is nonlinear, that it happens when you least expect it. And so in the case of Kodak, not only were cameras being built into cell phones and getting good, and you were able to send over 3G wireless pretty high quality photos, but we saw that the making of pictures became the highest value part of the value chain. And so the people who were selling paper and consumables like printing fluids were actually making an incredible amount of profit. And the people who were making film and trying to compete with traditional style cameras weren't making anywhere near as much profit. So there were transformational moments that could go on that touch your industry. It happened to Kodak, and they had their Kodak moment. What you want to make sure of is that it doesn't happen to you. Whether you're in a small, medium, or large corporation, transformational moments are like tsunamis. They just ripple across the entire economy. And you want to make sure if a transformational moment happens, you're on the other side of the tsunami, and you can be there to build what comes afterwards, as opposed to being on the wrong side of the tsunami where you get washed away.